Hey guys, it's Adam, and this is week 2 on realising you're trans. So, now I don't really like stereotyping, but when I was younger, I clearly did it to myself a lot. So I always just assumed that when I grew up, I'd be a lesbian. That was kind of just what I thought would happen. It was based on my views of society and how people viewed lesbians, and obviously I knew that biologically I was female, and the only thing that even came close to how I was and how I presented and what I did and how I dressed was being a lesbian. I kind of waited for it to happen, and I did kind of have a major flaw in this plan in that I don't like girls and never have, and probably never will. But so it was a bit strange. I didn't know that transgender existed as such. I'd heard of transsexuals, of course, but my view was very warped because the view at that time that there was in the media, although the media has got better recently, but the view I had at that time in the media was that it was sort of cross-dressers, transvestites, and they were all male to female. I'd never even heard of a female to male trans person until a few years ago. Someone at my school came out as an FDM trans person, and as soon as I heard that, I just knew. I was drawn to him. That sounds a bit weird. I mean, I was really curious, and I was asking loads of questions, and he must have thought I was really strange actually, because we weren't particularly friendly before, but we are now. So it was that moment that I heard that female to male trans people existed, and I just instantly knew that that was who I was. And then from that point, other things in my life started to make sense. So things I'd done as a kid and how I acted and how I dressed and how I always felt that I wasn't right, as in how my body didn't fit, and I'd always felt dysphoria about my body, how I didn't want my chest, how I didn't want my hips. I'd always wanted to be treated like a boy without ever sort of realising in my head that it was because I was a boy. It was just realising I was trans, I guess, was just the day things made sense. I guess you can analyse your past and you can say, oh, I did this, so maybe that means I'm a boy, or I did this, so maybe it means I'm a girl, or I did a mix of these, so maybe it means I'm both, but it's how you identify. And I never ever knew that I could be trans because I didn't know it existed. I just felt I was wrong and that nothing made sense, and that I was really unhappy, and that it was going to carry on like that because I couldn't do anything about it. And then as soon as I found out I could, I just knew that that was right. I guess another moment was my scout group. There was this girl, and she was sitting there one week, and she goes, "Oh, I'm something about how she was such a tomboy," and I just looked at her like she had about 7 heads, I think, and I just couldn't believe that she described herself as a tomboy, because from my point of view, that was always how I described myself. But I sort of thought, well, if you describe yourself as a tomboy, then I'm just in a complete another league of my own. Like, I'm not even a tomboy, I'm just a boy. And that was also kind of when things clicked. And another thing where it sounds ridiculous was that I didn't realise that not all girls felt the same way about their bodies that I did when I was younger. So, and the moment I realised that people didn't all hate their chest and hate their hips and hate everything about them, was when a friend of mine, for her birthday, she got this thing called a boob job in a tube. I'd never heard of it, but apparently it's this cream that you rub on your chest, and it's supposed to stimulate fat cells to divide or something. It's supposed to make your chest grow. And I just didn't understand. I was just sitting there thinking, but why would you want your chest to grow? It doesn't make any sense. And I kind of asked her about it, and she was like, well, of course I want my chest to grow. I'm absolutely tiny. And I couldn't understand. And then I guess that was another moment that I kind of realised. So for me, it was less so about the things I did. It was more about discovering new things and learning stuff that I didn't know beforehand. So if I'd have never known that trans people existed, if I'd have never known that girls didn't feel the same way about their bodies that I did, then I probably never would have figured out I was trans. Of course, I do identify quite far along the male end of the spectrum, and I am generally quite manly, stereotypically, I suppose, in how I act and what I do and stuff, which I guess all help me sort of consolidate the fact that I was trans. But yeah, so the main things that helped me figure out I was trans was, first of all, discovering that trans people existed, and then second of all, discovering that not all people felt the same way about themselves that I did. So that's probably the best kind of explanation I can give about how I realised I was trans. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.